Well, I'm gonna put these in so maybe you can hear me better that way. This is the part that always gets me, is just waiting for people to show up. Two people showed up. Let's see what they have to say. Go ahead and say hello. Were you all watching the live streams of the rally tonight? Just saw I was live and couldn't resist. Hello, Shelly. How are you? And Gina and Janie. It's nice to finally start seeing people come in here. You know what was really nice is tonight at the rally, my words that I said at the evening meeting in Sheridan, Wyoming the other day were used quite a few times by several people tonight. It was nice to hear my own words coming back. It's nice to know that I said something that other people took to heart and made their own. Whose live stream were you watching? Were you watching Mud Pigs or First Responder or Trucker G's, or, you know, there's a whole list of them. Yeah, you're right. Santa was killing it tonight. He's got that fire deep down inside like I do. The difference is I am not in a position right now to be able to constantly be with the convoy every day. I do have to make money. I do have to dig myself out of a financial hole that I was put in by other people. Oh, Sasnak, I forgot. He was there too. Yeah, he showed up in Butte, Montana and rejoined. Yeah, I ran into him when I was there in Sheridan, and I came in the day they were stuck in Sheridan for the wind. Of course, I've got a lot of years of experience crossing back and forth in the nasty weather of Wyoming. And I also had a load on board, so I knew I could make it. But as far as the reasons the convoy shut down was for the wind, and that was the best call they could have made, because most of the people in the convoy do not have the experience that it would take to make it successfully through that, and most of the cars and other vehicles would have been knocked off the road or torn apart. But I did see Sasnak there. I stayed with them, rode with them from the next morning from Sheridan out to Casper. Stayed with them for about an hour and a half after getting to Casper, and then I had to take off because I've got to be in Virginia Beach, Virginia tomorrow morning. I gotta scroll back here if I can. Oh, I'm getting a few people in here. Yep. Yeah, Mudpig's sound quality is really good, and I'm pretty sure, I've seen him the way he's doing things, and for the most part he's just using his iPhone as by itself, which is the same thing I'm using right now, but I'm using my AirPod Pros. How do they sound? Am I loud and clear, or are you getting a lot of background noise? Incognito, I know there were rigs and RVs and travel trailers and there were even vans and cars rolled over in the ditch because I drove past them all to get to the convoy in the first place, because I was stopped in Rawlins, Wyoming, and decided I didn't want to go by Elk Mountain, which has even stronger winds than anywhere else in Wyoming. And I said, well, the convoy's up here. I'm gonna go hook up with the convoy for a day, because I could spare a day. Well, of course you can hear my truck because it's still 82 degrees outside, and I have my little wolf here. Sid, come here, bud. Come here, Sid. Come here. Somebody wants to see you. This is my little wolf right here. His name is Sid Vicious. He's been my co-pilot for over 3.5 million miles. Check that. Just making sure my screen is not getting hot. That's another thing I've been having trouble with while live streaming, is my phone gets hot enough that it turns itself off. Just kind of keeping track of that. Let's see if maybe I turn the vents to the defroster so it's blowing from behind the phone. Maybe it'll help cool it down a little. It would be better if I had the I have to take the dashboard apart and replace the blower motor for the AC system, because barely blows at all, so you really have to kind of be close to the vents in order to feel it. Yes, Incognito, you got that right. Sex Pistols, not the wrestler. Yeah, like I said though, it was nice hearing my own words coming back at me from multiple other people that got on stage tonight. That was really good. When the other day when they were in Sheridan, I spoke at the evening meeting. And yeah, Santa kind of called me out. He didn't mention me, but he said, I have a friend that says I can't afford to do this like you do. And he says he can't afford not to. Well, yeah. But he also, I don't think, most people don't even know the situation I'm in. I have to haul loads when I can to make sure I have money coming in to dig out of a hole that I was put in by other people. I can't really go into detail because that is going to come out in a courtroom. So for legal reasons, I really can't say much. That's right, not the wrestler, Shelley. My little Sid Vicious is named after Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols. I had originally planned on getting two of them, a male and a female. He's a male. I was going to name the female Nancy, so I would have Sid and Nancy together. He's too much of a knucklehead. I quickly realized that I was not going to be able to handle two of them. Just one in the truck is enough for me. Yep. But they're I realize, people have to work. Thing is, if this goes on much longer, it's going to get to a point where it's not going to matter if you work or not. If they take more freedoms away, there will come a point in time when everybody is going to have to sacrifice everything they have to get back to what we are supposed to have. And that's what Santa sees now. He sees that right now is the time that we have. Everybody should sacrifice everything just to get back what they've taken. I believe myself it is that time, but I'm also on the fence because I have other commitments outside of trucking and outside of, just within my own personal life, that those commitments need to be met, and that's all there is, because without them I've got nothing. Even if we were to go and do things and succeed at it, I would be coming back to nothing and having to start all over from scratch. And in this industry, good luck. Yeah, I haul enough loads that I can afford a couple days off here and there, and on those I try to make sure that the last load I hauled gets me close enough to get back to the convoy, or that I have a load that I'm in the middle of that takes me right through where the convoy is, so I can be there with them for at least one day while in the trip. And if push comes to shove, I am prepared for whatever outcome. quadriplegic son travel? Can you take him places? Bring him along. Yes, I follow the Canadian Truckers magazine. I usually end up getting the information after the fact or late because I am not on Facebook or Twitter, so I have to go through other ways to get to it. See, that's the thing, incognito. The establishment has made so many problems everywhere so that they keep certain people fighting this and certain people fighting that and so on and so on and so on. And then they turn around and they program everybody that, okay, we have races that are all different from each other. Let's get them fighting each other. Let's get the racial division going on. Let's get this going on. Let's get that movement going on. Let's keep the people fighting a million things and each other at the same time so that they can't possibly come against us, the government. Well, it's time to stop all that, and it's time for everybody to stand up and unite under one movement and show them they are not kings on thrones anymore. They never were. Maybe there's people on here that can find a good wheelchair reliable van, help you out there. You know, if not on my stream, you know, there's Mudpig's stream, there's all the other streamers. They've, you know, if you make it known that you would like to join in with the convoy and that is the only thing holding you back, I'm pretty sure somebody can come up with something somewhere. Forgive me, still not quite off nicotine. Getting there though. As if anybody's ever heard me at any of the meetings when we all yell freedom, the guy that holds freedom the longest and seems to just go on forever, and then everybody says, man, that guy must never have smoked. I used to smoke 4 packs a day. I am that guy that holds that note the longest. I couldn't have done it last year. But thanks to having switched to vape and off of cigarettes and cut down on the nicotine levels to the point I'm down to 3 milligrams now finally, and almost out of that, and I'm going to be on zeros soon. But now I've got a lot of my breath back. I can breathe again. I can really belt it out there. Been thinking I would as many truck stops and businesses as possible. Maybe some drivers could drop them off when they are doing their jobs or doing remotes. The biggest thing is, you know, the truck stop, a lot of times they won't allow stuff like that. They don't want anybody else's stuff in there but theirs. Getting to Ohio, huh? Yeah. Good luck. I hope it works out in that way for you. Now, reaching out to your state reps. Here's the problem with that. They're not listening. They act like they are if you actually talk to the real representative, but for the most part, they have people taking those calls and screening the messages. They have people running their Twitters and their Facebooks and all their other social medias and their email accounts they never even see most of what the people are saying to them or asking them to do. They don't care about anything but the almighty dollar line in their own pocket. They do not have our interests in mind, and they don't care what our interests are. It's time to tell them en masse, get the entire country standing up screaming, "You're fired. We're done." Any politician that has been in for more than 2 terms, any politician that has served 2 terms should be done. After 2 terms, everybody else should be gone. All those people that have served more than that need to be fired. We need to have at one point in time we had term limits. They found a way to get rid of that. We need it put back in place. And yeah, I don't have a Facebook or a Twitter. I lost both of those the day after the election. I don't know why I lost the Twitter one. They never told me. The Facebook one, their excuse was a picture of my Trump 2020 No More BS flag that I had posted the July prior to the election. That was their excuse for deleting my account. Yeah, a lot of people are still snowballed by the mainstream media, and the mainstream media, they rolled a giant blackout on us completely. Even the left-wing news, complete blackout. There was a little talk about it in the beginning, but after that, nothing. They were told not to cover us. Doesn't matter whether it was left-wing or right-wing news. They were all told not to cover us. And it worked. It kept us from being known. Incognito, they're not going to read the Constitution again. Those politicians would rather light it on fire or use it as toilet paper. Oh, I did a lot of time in Facebook jail. I was in Facebook jail all the time. I tend to not have any filter. And I really don't care about anybody else's feelings when it comes to a lot of things like the Constitution, the legal system, the laws, just about everything that makes this country what it is. If somebody is pushing an agenda that is contrary to what is legal or what's in the Constitution, I got no filter, and I don't care what their feelings are. I hammer them on it. And I was getting banned left and right on Facebook over that. But they finally took it away completely over my stupid Trump flag the day after the election. Yep, OAN is one of them too. Basically, the news channels that consider themselves left-wing, or the right-wing, and the channels that the left-wing consider being right-wing, like say CNN decides that this channel over here must be extreme right-wing because of some of the news reports they put out. Well, that is by design. In my opinion, that is 100% by design. They give you just enough right-wing information to make you think it's right-wing, but they are still following the plan of all the other media that's left-wing. Every one of them is under control by one entity. I Guarantee it. That's my opinion. And it's always something that makes no sense, right? Yeah. Well, tomorrow, actually in about 6 hours, I'm going to be driving. I've got 5 hours to drive into Virginia Beach. I'll probably live stream as much as I can if I'm allowed to after I get to the gate. I'm delivering right onto the naval base. So I may end up with my phone confiscated at the gate. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, it's the Naval Air Station out over there in Virginia Beach area that I'm going to. Recall Gavin Newsom. Yeah. Yep. I don't know whose great idea it was to put Nancy Pelosi's son in charge of anything, but yeah. Safe travels. Oh, you'll see. You'll probably be riding with me, and you'll be probably looking right out the windshield. I gotta clean the spot in front of the camera though, because it's covered in bugs that wouldn't come off with the windshield wiping squeegee. So I gotta get out there and do it by hand before I take off in the morning, so you guys have a clear shot. Bug season has arrived, you know. Trust me, I know they cheated again. They do it in Oregon too. As a matter of fact, they perfected it in Oregon. Oregon was the first state to do vote-in by mail, and they went vote-in by mail only. There are no places to go in person. And they've been doing that for, I don't know. That's how they got Clinton in office. Right now I am in West Virginia, a little town called Caldwell. Oregon perfected it, everybody else adopted it. See, what gets me is I had a different YouTube account, and I had a lot of subscribers on there. I had like a couple thousand, and I was able to live stream on that one, but I quickly realized I can't live stream on that because it was set up with all my personal information, and it was under my personal name. And after having been doxxed a couple of different times just for having been with the convoy, not gonna leave that information out there anymore. Well, the politics is as bad as Cali in Colorado now. You know why? All those people that kept running away from California because of the politics brought those politics with them. They voted for the same things that they ran away from. If you leave California, or if you leave an area of any kind because of things that happened that came out of their politics, like, I don't know, the taxes being high, or these rules or that rules, or, you know, all the restrictions here and there, you ran away from it. Don't vote it back in where you went to. Don't bring it with you. Leave it behind. the people that are in the White House now, not the White House itself. Because at the time, Trump was in the White House, and I guarantee he didn't pay people to stuff the ballots. Yeah, us truckers, we don't call it California. And yes, we hate it very much. We call it California. Matter of fact, I grew up in eastern Washington State, and ever since I was a little kid, we always called it California. I grew up on a farm, so. We've watched Washington go downhill. We've watched Oregon go downhill. And every time it was when there were mass floods of people leaving California. It was the next election season that, oh, here come all these weird, crazy laws that should never have been brought. Oh, and they start getting passed. Well, guess what? Yeah. When people leave California, they don't really leave California. They take it with them and they force it on other people. That's why most of us hate California. One of the biggest reasons I hate California, though, I've driven around the country for many, many years, and for quite a long time, the dirtiest state, the one with the most garbage on the sides of the roads that was never getting cleaned up, was California. And yet California was the one pushing all of this emissions stuff and all the Clean Air Acts and the Clean This Act and the Clean That Act and, you know, the Recycle This, and they were the ones pushing all that to begin with. So how in the world are their streets covered in crap? Why is there paper flying all over the place out there? Just old used paper and I mean, pop cans, beer bottles, just garbage everywhere you looked. And it didn't matter whether it was Northern Cali or Eastern Cali or Western Cali or Mid Cali or Southern Cali. It was all garbage everywhere I looked. And the people were so nasty. I never been looked down at, disrespected, or treated the way I was in any other state at the time when I first started driving in and out of California. Now, one thing that I will always say, and I want you guys to hear it. I don't know if any of you watched me say it the other day in Sheridan, but I heard somebody tonight at the meeting saying that, you know, people need to get out even more, be active even more on the internet and pushing information out to get people woke up. And we've been trying to wake people up for many, many, many years already. The problem now is everybody thinks they're a keyboard warrior. Everybody thinks that it can all be done by showing everybody the information through the internet. The people that are awake now are the only ones that are going to wake up now. All those that are still asleep refuse to wake up. They won't. The second you start to give them any kind of information that's contradictory to anything they've heard or seen or been told, they immediately shut you off. They will not wake up. So the time for keyboard warriors is over. It is time to stand up. It is time to go to your local city halls and put pressure on them there. Go to your school boards and put pressure on them there. Go to your county seats and put pressure on them there. Your state capitals, even like what we're doing at the federal capital, you know, at the country's capital. Every place that you can put pressure, put it there. Because even from the local city hall, if you're putting pressure there, if enough people keep putting pressure on that one city hall, eventually that city hall has to start pressuring the people at the state level, saying, hey, we've got a problem, this needs fixed. We don't know what to do here, we need your help. And the more pressure that comes from all the other little cities around, that makes it even harder on the state, and that state has to end up figuring something out. So now is the time to stand, to be active, and to be seen and heard. Let them know you want your country back. Let them know what's displeasing you. Let them know what they took and why they should never have taken it and why it needs to be put back in place. Let them know that they are doing a crap job and they need to be fired. What's that about illegals? Yeah, the baby formula. That's not the only thing. Being a truck driver, and since I'm not actually active in the convoy most of the time, I'm there a lot, but a lot of other times I'm out hauling loads. I've been in and out of a lot of shipping ports all over the country, and I can tell you there are thousands and thousands and thousands of shipping containers of every product that they're claiming is under shortage or we're running out of because of whatever. Well, no, there's no shortage. It's been in those shipping containers since the beginning of COVID. It just hasn't been released. The government has not released those shipping containers because they have to do this COVID inspection checklist and all that. They've never even bothered to go do it. And while those are sitting there, more and more shipping containers are coming in behind them and just stacking up and up and up and up. There is no shortage. The government is just holding it from us. See, I live in a city where, actually I live in two cities. One where I keep my family, another where I keep my business. Two different states, by the way. The state my family is in, there is a major city that had a lot of BLM and Antifa activity. You can probably guess. I'm not going to say it, but the absolute worst made the news all the time. We had maybe 5 or 6 homeless people throughout the entirety of the city for many, many years. And then this last season, we ended up with Antifa and BLM being bussed in from all over the country, paid to be there, and caused problems for 2 years, 3 years. And now that they've got nothing to do, they don't have jobs, they're not being paid to be there anymore. They're all homeless, living in tents and crappy RVs that are not roadworthy and practically falling apart or burning or ready to burn down. And they're taking up every free space possible. Every place you can possibly put a tent, there is a tent. Oh, and of course, the people running the city in their infinite wisdom decided to turn around and make it so that if said people put up a tent in your yard, you do not have the right to force them out. You have to let them be there on your property. It is illegal for you to kick them off your property now. Yeah. Go figure, right? Yeah, and even those responses that you got from the Republican ones in your state were probably automated. Oh yeah, we know there's there's sites out there for paid protesters. We know. This is not new. This has been oh, I don't know. The first time I actually saw this kind of stuff was with Obama. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, a little bit background on me. You know, like I said, I grew up on a farm in eastern Washington State. I was in the Army. Did most of my time in the Army over in various sandy places in the Middle Eastern areas. Got a lot of hobbies, got a lot of things there, but you know, I've been, since I got out of the military in 1998, I have been truck driving. I am 100% Constitution. I do not care if they're a Republican or a Democrat. I don't care what party they're from. I look at their track record. I look at what they're about, what they believe in. And I don't vote for somebody that's been in for more than, for at least 2 terms. If they've already been in for 2 terms, I won't vote for them. I'm a firm believer that if there's anything out there that goes against the Constitution, it is null and void. Like a lot of the laws that California has, or other states like it, that have laws on the books that are completely contradictory to what the Constitution grants us, then that law that California made is null and void. It's mute. Actually, the downhill spiral. The downhill spiral started with Johnson. Trust me. It just got more in your face with Obama. Enjoy your dinner. I'm actually going to need to go to bed here soon because I got to get up and start driving in a handful of hours here. I agree with that. We are the people that show the world how humanity should be treated. You have a good night, Shelley. See, Cat? I'm not old enough to remember it, but I am old enough to have had a history class that actually taught it. And that's what's disturbing to me now. It's like, my children, the only reason they know anything about most of the wars in the world, like the Civil War, the war for our independence, World War I, World War II, the only things that they really knew about any of that, like the Civil War, the only thing my kids knew about the Civil War was slavery. Slavery, freeing the slaves, was actually a byproduct of the Civil War. The Civil War was all about taxation. when it comes to World War II. The only thing my children knew about World War II was that, this is what the schools had taught them, that they taught them that a lot of Jews died. They didn't teach them anything that led up to it. They didn't teach them what happened that granted the Germans the ability to do that to the Jews, what sparked the whole thing, the laws that were put into place and this and that and the whole nine. None of that was given to my children for information from their history classes. So I had to give it to them. And they didn't believe me until they actually had to look it up. And now, sadly, a lot of that information you can't even find online anymore. And it's just like, my daughter comes to me one day and she says, Dad, I'm going to fail my history class because I'm getting sick and tired of the subject. And I asked her why. She says, well, for the last 3 months, all we've done is talk about Martin Luther King. Okay. Why can't you spend 1 week on Martin Luther King and the next week on, the Treaty of Versailles or the Chernobyl or any other topic in history? Why do you have to spend an entire semester on one man? Somehow my children got taught over this last 2 years that the human immune system is so weak that you can catch the same virus multiple times. I don't know about you, but what I was taught in biology, the human immune system works one way. You get a sickness, your body starts creating antibodies. Your white blood cells and everything start going to war with whatever that virus is, and they build antibodies that kill it. Which is why you start running a fever and everything else, because your body, your immune system is literally at war with this virus. Well, once that virus is completely knocked out of your system, your body never gets rid of the antibodies. You always have them. Your body remembers how to make them. Your immune system remembers those things. It's like programming a computer. Once you've programmed it to do a certain thing, unless you rip that program out, which would mean, basically killing the person, it's always going to be there. So how is it possible that you can get COVID and get better from it, and then 6 months later get COVID again and get better from it, and then 6 months later get COVID again and get better from it? It's not possible. Yeah. Your dad was in World War II. Yeah. See, both of my grandfathers, one was in World War I and II, and the other one was in World War II in Korea. My dad was in Vietnam. I was in Desert Storm. My sister was in, she got deployed to Afghanistan, and she got deployed to Iraq. And then she had a brain injury after she was home for a while. So she's not the same person anymore, so she has to be taken care of now instead of taking care of other people, but it's a sacrifice. You know, there is a theory. I'm not going to tell you whether I believe it or not, but there's a theory that George Bush Sr. was the one that pulled the trigger on JFK. At least for the kill shot. Because George Bush Sr. was the CIA agent that was in the front passenger seat that turned around, and at the exact same moment that Kennedy's head went back into the left. No, I'm a firm believer that all pharmaceuticals are garbage. I don't take anything unless it's just a regular pain medication like Tylenol or something like that. You know, if I've got a pain that is too bad, like right now, this my right shoulder here is it's got a popping and cracking in it, and I'm having trouble lifting things without severe pain shooting through all those muscles right there. I think I know my shoulder is not out of socket, so I'm thinking I might have torn a rotator cuff. I don't know. But I'll deal with it until I can't. Yeah. The Q site. Not really a fan of Q, but I mean, I've watched them, read them, listened to a lot that's there. There's a lot of truth in a lot of that, but there's also a lot of smoke and mirrors in a lot of that. It leaves you most of the stuff, if you put it all together and look at it all, it leaves a person wondering how much is true and how much isn't. Because there's a lot of BS in it and there's a lot of truth in it. So I guess it's a lot like today's media. What's true and what's not? And how do you decide which is which? Don't forget, they tried to take out Reagan too. Twice. Reagan was a decent man. I actually met him when I was a little boy. My grandfather took me on a trip around the East Coast when I was young. We went to Gettysburg. We went to a lot of places, but we also stopped at the White House. We toured the White House, and we ran right into him. And he was an interesting guy. My grandfather liked him. I remember shaking his hand. And at the time, I knew exactly who he was because we had just studied him for a week in class, but earlier that year. But it was, at the time, I didn't realize how big of a moment for anybody that would have been. I was just like, okay, he's just a guy. To me, you know, I knew he was the president, but to me that didn't hold any weight. It didn't mean anything at the time. Well, you're touching closer to what I believe there, Dreamer. Let me put it this way. What if I told you that the whole Q thing, the entire Q thing, was a psyop perpetrated and developed by the left to keep those on the right pacified, keep us peaceful, keep us thinking we're doing the right thing peacefully this way by being keyboard warriors and digging and searching and all of this and sharing out and all, you know, where did all that information that they were putting out there really come from to begin with? Who was releasing it? Nobody knows any of this stuff. A lot of the stuff that this was supposed to happen on this date and this was supposed to happen on that date and so on and so on and so on, that never happened. Those days would come and nothing really would happen. Like I said, what if I told you it was all a psyop built by the left to keep the right pacified enough that they would not pick up arms and march on DC. Because I guarantee you, I asked my dad this a couple months back. I said, if this happened 40 years ago, if all of this stuff that's happening now happened 40 years ago, what do you think would happen? And he looked at me funny. He says, what do you mean? I said, I'm a firm believer that 40 years ago, had all of this stuff happened, your dad, my grandfather, mom's dad, my grandfather, and you would have been the first people out the door with guns over your shoulders marching on DC, would you not? And my dad just looks at me and says, yeah. The difference of 40 years. My grandparents are dead and gone. So, 40 years. That's all it took to break the back of the real patriots in this country. I'm a real patriot. Most of the time I feel like I'm standing alone. I'm ready for what has to come, if it has to come. But that doesn't mean I want to be the guy that stands up first and gets shot for it. That's why I'm with the People's Convoy when I can be, mainly because they are standing up. Albeit a little too slowly and peacefully in my opinion, but they are standing up. And they're about the only group out here that I have known so far that is actually doing something. I'm not alone. Well, I can tell you something here. There's a reason a lot of my friends that I've had in the trucking industry for a long time refer to me as the Rolling Armory. I'm prepared for almost any situation, period. Now, I've got another friend that for a long time said that it has to be done peacefully. The only way to do it is peacefully. We have to do this peacefully. It has to go peacefully the whole way. It can be achieved peacefully. And I said, I had to remind him that in every instance throughout history, every time there has been a revolution of any kind that changed a government or changed a country in a way, politically. So basically a revolution, no matter which way you want to say it. There hasn't been a single revolution throughout world history, throughout the entirety of world history, that did not come without bloodshed. And I told him, this is the way I see it. This is the facts. I said, we can do this peacefully. We can start this out peacefully, but no matter what, I only see it ending in bloodshed. I only see us getting from point A to point B through bloodshed. We start at point A peacefully and we move, and then somewhere along the line it turns into bloodshed to make it to point B. Otherwise, we stay peaceful and we move, and then we get knocked back. And we move and we get knocked back. And we move and we get knocked back until somebody steps over that line. And I think the best way to do it, we keep moving peacefully, and we keep moving peacefully, and we keep moving peacefully to a point that the other side finally fires the first shot. As soon as they start firing the first shot, now the entire world has a reason to continue that fight forward. But if we fire the first shot, the whole world has a reason to knock us back in our place, or where they think our place should be. And I told him, I don't care what you want. The only way you're going to get to the outcome you want is through bloodshed. That is a sad fact of history, has proven it over and over and over. To get the revolution you want, there has to be major sacrifice, good or bad. I don't want to see bloodshed, but the fact remains it's going to have to happen to get what we want, to get the outcome we're looking for. Because the outcome we're looking for ultimately cannot be achieved peacefully. But we do have to try to get there peacefully until they prove that we can't. And by the way they will prove that we can't, they'll start shooting at us first. They'll start throwing us in prison first, locking us up under the Patriot Act. They'll call us terrorists and lock us up under Patriot Act and throw away the key without ever having a court date, without ever having an attorney, just bye. We've already seen them do it with the January 6 guys. And don't you remember George Bush turning around and saying, hey, the Patriot Act is never going to be used against American citizens. He promised. That was his promise to us, which is why we allowed the law to be put in place. Right? Now what? Now the Patriot Act is being used against American citizens. I'll tell you what, the HWO will never be able to tell me what to do, period. They are a foreign entity. They hold no weight in this country. I don't care what documents are signed. I don't care what they do to make themselves have power here. They try to do anything with me. Good luck. Good luck. It's just like, when somebody told me that I was going to be forced to have the vaccine shot. I looked at him and said, dude, come at me with a stabby stab, be prepared to receive the leady lead. Driving around I drive around this entire country from one end to the other for a lot of years, and I can tell you, there are a lot more FEMA caps than you know about. More people will start standing up when the other side starts taking away their livelihoods. It's been a great conversation, and this conversation can go on all night, and I can't do that because I do have to drive tomorrow, even though it's only like a good 5 hour down the road. I do need to get some sleep because drowsy driving is just as bad as drunk driving. Just like a lot of things, but that is one place where I do draw the line, is when it comes to getting just enough sleep, and I do need some sleep. So I'm going to call it for the night, and I will be streaming tomorrow on the drive for as long as I can, and we'll see what the scenery looks like. I'll have you guys facing out the window tomorrow, as long as I don't get too many bugs on that part of the windshield again. We'll catch y'all later. Y'all have a good night.